Yo, you ever go back and listen to Relapse and just think, damn, this man was operating on a different level? Like, yeah, people clowned it when it dropped, said the accents were weird, said it was too much horror movie energy. But bro, if you actually sit with it, the rhyme schemes, the production, the way M makes being insane sound so calculated, it's kinda genius. And nah, this ain't one of those I'm just saying that now because it aged better takes. This was always fire. It just took people a while to catch up. So in this video, we're breaking it all down. How M's mind was working after the overdose, why people hated this album at the time, and why the hate was honestly low-key proof that he was ahead of his time. You're gonna wanna stick around for the whole thing because by the end, you might look at Relapse completely different. Alright, so let's rewind a bit back to 2007. That's when Eminem nearly died from an overdose. It happened in December. He collapsed in his bathroom after taking some mysterious blue pills that someone had given him.
You're taking things that people are giving you. You don't even know what the fuck they are. They look like a pill, and they're shaped like something that you take, so you take it, you know? Xanax, Valium, tomato, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's all in the same family, fuck it, take it. Had I have got to the hospital about 2 hours later, I would have died.
At the time, the official story was that he was hospitalized for pneumonia, and most people just took that at face value. But if you were really paying attention at the time, you could tell something was off.
Saw a picture a couple of years ago of you looking mad fat. I mean, I'm not gonna front, but you was looking mad chunky.
Yeah, man, I started, I moved up in weight.
How much?
Probably, I don't know. I think I was, I know at one point I was over 200.
And after Proof died, that wrecked him.
On April 11th, 2006, Eminem received the worst news of his life. His best friend Proof was killed in a nightclub. Although details were sketchy, Proof's death sent shockwaves through M's camp, and it began to push M himself deeper into his state of darkness. By 2007, Eminem had been in and out of rehab, and even worse, in and out of the hospital.
It was already pretty bad, you know, rehab and like right before rehab and after rehab, I relapsed, and then, you know, obviously Proof's passing had a lot to do with me kind of just, you know, going way overboard. Like that's when it really kind of spiraled out of control.
Proof wasn't just a friend, he was like family. And when he passed, M didn't just grieve, he spiraled. The pill addiction, that really took off around the 8 Mile era.
When I was doing the 8 Mile movie, and that's when I kind of first got introduced to ambient. And the schedule that I was we were working like 16-hour days. And we'd have this little like 6-hour window to go home and go to sleep. And it was an hour drive from the set and an hour drive back. So what's that mean? I had 4 hours to get some sleep. So I got introduced to ambient on the set of 8 Mile, and I got into the habit of taking it every single night. The time the movie was wrapped, went on tour. Now I need it every night after a show.
And by the time he was working on Encore, he was allegedly popping pills by the handful. And after that, he just disappeared. Yeah, we got Encore in 2004, then the re-up in 2006, and even that felt like leftovers. That legendary run from 99 to 04, it felt like it had come to an end. Fans started wondering if Eminem was finished, if the curtain had quietly closed on one of the greatest to ever do it. But what the world didn't realize was just how deep his addiction had taken him. That is, until Relapse dropped. That's when it all clicked.
Whoa, Nelly, tell Angelina Jolie I'm ready with petroleum jelly to smear it all over me belly. And tell her she can hit me on me mobile, me celly, and meet in the salami section of the grocery deli. And maybe we can find us an appropriate telly, a Motel 6 or 8, I think they both could be helly. Then I quit it, then I told her email me and don't call me, I'll call you, can you feel me? You smell me?
Now fast forward to Relapse. This was Eminem's first full album post-rehab, and man, this thing is dark. It's a horrorcore through and through. M fully embodying the serial killer persona, rapping over rapped, menacing Dr. Dre production, going absolutely crazy with the rhyme schemes and wordplay. It's violent, ugly and disturbing, but somehow brilliantly executed. But here's where things got complicated. People expected something else. Since this was his first real album after nearly dying, fans were bracing for a raw, heartfelt comeback. Something introspective about his addiction and how he pulled himself out of it. Instead, they got a cartoonish serial killer spitting murder fantasies in bizarre accents.
I heard things like, like, if M comes back, he's got to reinvent himself. If he, you know, like, he's got to just do something different. You know, I would sit kind of dwell on those things. You know, do I need to reinvent myself?
Apart from songs like Deja Vu and Beautiful, the album doesn't dig much into M's personal life. And that threw a lot of people off, especially the casual fans who had no idea what horrorcore even was. But what people often miss is that M was still in recovery while making this. Sure, he was clean, but he wasn't mentally or emotionally all the way back yet. He's admitted in interviews that he was still pretty foggy, not fully present. So in a way, Relapse represents this in-between state. He wasn't lost in addiction anymore, but he wasn't quite himself either. It's a glimpse of a man crawling out of darkness, shaky, disoriented, but finally creating again. And that is the context behind the album. You can't fully understand Relapse without understanding this version of Eminem. Post-overdose, post-proof, and right in the middle of rebuilding his mind. So why did everyone hate on Relapse? When Relapse dropped in 2009, man, the reaction was rough. Like, people were going in, fans, critics, casual listeners, everyone had something to say. The number one thing people hated were the accents. M was doing these exaggerated cartoonish voices on a bunch of tracks, and people just weren't feeling it. The jokes were everywhere. Some fans said it sounded goofy, others felt it completely ruined the album, and honestly, I get why it threw people off. If you're expecting the raw emotional Eminem who just survived an overdose and the first thing you hear is him rapping about chopping people up in a weird voice, yeah, you're probably turning that off by track 3. But here's the thing, over time people started revisiting Relapse with fresh ears. And a lot of people started realizing, yo, this album is actually nuts. Personally, I love the accents. They're wild, yeah, but that's part of the charm. And what most people missed is that the accents weren't just random. They actually helped M unlock new rhyme pockets. M's always played with pronunciation to stretch rhymes in ways most rappers could never pull off. And with these voices, he gave himself even more room to bend syllables, flip flows, and build insane rhyme chains.
What is that accent on the voice?
You know, I think I slip in and out of accents, like, I don't know if it's consciously or subconsciously. I slip in and out of them on the record. There's like, I think there's a few different ones, and I haven't exactly tapped into what it is, like if you had to define it, what the accent is. I think that, I know I like taking words and trying to bend them.
Technically, this might be one of the best flowing albums he's ever made. Now here's another reason people weren't feeling it at the time, the structure. The way Relapse is sequenced plays a huge role in how it was received. The album doesn't ease you in. It doesn't set a vibe. You press play and it immediately throws you into the deep end. Brutal graphic horrorcore. Tracks about dismemberment, abduction. So naturally people were like, yo, what the hell is this? And I get it. If you're not in the headspace for it, it's overwhelming. But imagine if the track list was flipped. What if it started with lighter, more vibey tracks like All Time Sake, Must Be the Ganja, or Crack a Bottle? Let people ease in with that party vibes, get comfortable, then drop them into the madness later in the album. That would have created a sense of descent, like a drug-fueled spiral into darkness. It would have felt like a story unraveling. And honestly, if you compare the content, Relapse really isn't that far from the Slim Shady LP. You still get that playful, unhinged Slim Shady energy on tracks like My Mom, Elevator, We Made You, and then there's the darker alter ego, the full-on serial killer Shady, taking over on Stay Wide Awake, Underground, My Darling. But it's not just shock value, there's also emotional depth. You've got tracks like Deja Vu, Careful What You Wish For, and Beautiful, where he peels back the mask and shows what he was actually going through. Despite all that, the emotion, the technical skill, even Eminem himself ended up kinda turning on Relapse. In Not Afraid, he raps,
In fact, let's be honest, at last Relapse CD was aired. Perhaps I ran them accents into the ground.
and that hesitation, it says a lot. He's not straight up calling it trash, more like he's acknowledging the backlash. He knows people weren't feeling it, but he's not completely throwing it under the bus either. Because let's be real, if you listen to how he raps on that album, you can tell he was having fun.
You know, I think I've been bored with the English language a little bit.
Oh, you're definitely having fun.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess I want to see how far I can bend it. Something, I don't know.
The writing is intricate, the delivery is sharp, the concept is fully committed. There's no way he didn't care. In my opinion, M doesn't really hate Relapse. He just downplays it because the reception was so negative at the time. And now, Relapse has grown into a full-blown cult classic. People appreciate it for what it actually is, a dark, twisted, hilarious, and brilliantly technical horrorcore album made by someone in the early stages of recovery. It's messy, it's disturbing, and it's hilarious in the darkest way, but it's also super technical and unlike anything else in his catalog. So yeah, if someone says they don't like the accents or the subject matter, fair enough. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you're into flows, rhyme schemes, storytelling, and production, Relapse is honestly one of M's most impressive pieces of work. And that's probably why deep down M still respects it. He just doesn't bring it up much, maybe because the world just didn't get it back then. But here's the thing, everything people hated about Relapse was exactly what made it brilliant. Alright, hear me out. Relapse might be one of M's most underrated albums, and honestly, it's probably his most complete one front to back. The whole thing feels like it had a clear vision from the jump, the beats, the mood, the direction, it all just flows. It's not technically a concept album, but it kind of feels like one because of how committed it is to its vibe. Also, this album manages to do the wordplay heavy direction for M, and it still sounds musically pleasing. Yet he experiments with a ton of different rhyming techniques and word compositions. The accents add to this funnily as he's using them to rhyme words in different ways too. Also, Dr. Dre's production was cinematic, dark, and intentional. Relapse has by far the best production out of any Eminem album. It's the first and probably last album of his we'll get where it's 95% Dre beats. This was Eminem not trying to chase a hit song or trying to appeal to anyone but himself. It's a concept album which he never did before or after this one. The subject matter, dark as hell. See, that's where the concept kicks in. The serial killer scenarios were supposed to be a balancing act, still giving fans that unhinged Slim Shady energy while he quietly sorted through his own demons behind the mask. Beginning with the Dr. West skit, Marshall is just coming out of his relapse.
So we're discharging you today. How are you feeling?
Anxious.
Anxiety?
Well, anxious to get home, anxious to get back into the world.
But Slim Shady, a symbol of both his addiction and his darkest impulses, begins creeping back into his life.
Man, what the fuck?
Marshall, what's the matter, darling? Having some doubts, sorry?
Come on, man.
This shift is also really illustrated by My Darling, which honestly should have been placed between Dr. West and 3 AM. It makes perfect sense there, because right after that first massacre in 3 AM, Shady starts giving his reasons, his twisted justifications for why he is the way he is. Tracks like Insane,
I was born with a dick in my brain, yeah, fucked in the head. My stepfather said that I sucked in the bed.
a spiritual cousin to Brain Damage from Slim Shady LP, and My Mom,
My mom loved Valium and lots of drugs. That's why I am like I am, cause I'm like her.
which closes the loop on a promise he made way back on My Name Is.
I just found out my mom does more than I do. I told her I'd grow up to be a famous rapper, make a record about doing to name it after.
It's like Shady is trying to convince Marshall and us that this is just who he is, that he's a product of all the trauma, and in doing so, he reminds us where he came from. Then he leans all the way into that serial killer persona. We get Same Song and Dance,
Yeah, baby, do that dance, the last dance you'll ever get the chance to do. Girl, shake that ass. You ain't never gonna break that glass. That windshield's too strong for you.
and Stay Wide Awake,
Soon as my flow starts, I compose art like the ghost of Mozart.
two of the most vivid, nightmarish horrorcore tracks on the album. But then the drug addiction angle starts taking over. Songs like All Time Sake,
Good evening. This is your fucking captain speaking.
Must Be the Ganja,
I feel like dancing. I feel like dancing. I smell something in the air that's making me high.
but here's where it gets interesting. On Must Be the Ganja, we get the twist.
Good evening. This isn't even a weed thing. I ain't even smoke anything. I ain't even drinking.
He's not even on drugs anymore. He's not even drinking. That opens up two theories. One, maybe all of this has been a bad dream. Personally, I don't buy that. Two, and this is the one I believe, this entire album is the relapse. It's the mental spiral, and then boom, we hit the Mr. Mathers skit.
Mr. Mathers. Mr. Mathers, can you hear my voice? Okay, he's not responding.
Suddenly, it's too much. Marshall overdoses. Yes, this mirrors his real life OD, but it also fits the album's narrative. That overdose is the turning point. In a way, it's what kills off Slim Shady, at least temporarily. What follows are reflections. we get Deja Vu.
Sometimes I feel so alone, I just don't know. Feels like I've been down this road before.
And Beautiful.
I'll stay in my shoes just to see what it's like to be me. How be you? Let's trade shoes just to see what you'd be like to.
Where Marshall begins processing everything that just happened. And notice the accent starts fading. That's not by accident. That's the drug wearing off. Then comes Crack a Bottle.
It's ridiculous, she cursed at the thought. Cause when I spit the verse, the shit gets worse than worse, it's just sauce. If I could fit the words, this picture perfect works every time.
It's like he's relearning how to rap again, finding his footing. Finally, we get Underground.
Drain, I'm down here, under the ground, dig me up. Broken tibias, fibias, yeah, fix me up.
Where it all comes full circle. So the conclusion is Relapse is the story of a relapse. It's Shady crawling out of the shadows and taking over. Eventually it becomes too much, there's an overdose, and Marshall reemerges from the haze. Even the Relapse Refill tracks fit into this timeline. Just look at how they're ordered. They follow a similar pattern and reinforce the arc. Relapse captures that in-between space, the chaos before the clarity. And you can hear all of that, the confusion, the madness, the slipping grip on reality, especially in some of the album's most important tracks. On the track 3 AM, Eminem raps about being a serial killer, questioning his own sanity and recalling a string of murders. The song, according to M, is said to be closer to the overall sound of the album.
And at some point you record, an important record for the album because it sort of framed the creative. And you record 3 AM. What was going through your mind? And I know we're about to get into the accents, so tell me what you were thinking when you recorded that.
One, I had just started watching a bunch of fucking serial killer documentaries and shit.
Right, because there's a fucking lot of them out there.
Yeah, and it's like it started giving me ideas. Like I could, if I tried to sound like a demented fucking serial killer.
As opposed to the poppy fun poking We Made You, it's meant to be an ode to his fascination with horror movie characters such as Freddy Krueger and Hannibal Lecter. It features Eminem presumably rapping from the perspective of his alter ego Slim Shady. Also, the rhyme schemes on these tracks are absolutely crazy, especially the first verse.
Swallowing the Klonopin, I'm nodding in and out on the automatic. The Ramada and holding on to the pill bottle then.
They age like fine wine. It's kind of crazy how M can rhyme single words with entire phrases and do it so effortlessly. But the dark technical storytelling doesn't stop here. It only gets more twisted and impressive on the next track, Stay Wide Awake. In this track, he describes a series of fantasies, the dark side of addiction, and mutilation of women. Plus, it uses a human heartbeat as its kick drums. While the subject matter can definitely turn away certain people, that was exactly the point. And despite that, or maybe because of it, his technical ability is on full display. The flows on this are more creative, the rhyme pockets sharper, and the imagery more disturbing. This entire song, Stay Wide Awake, is really about being on constant alert and watching out for your own demons. In his case, Slim Shady. Don't fucking let up the discipline for a second or Slim will creep in and talk you into doing something regrettable.
Bound you, that's how they found you. Face down in the tub, I drown you with pals of downers around you. Such nostalgia and power, such prowess, look how you cower.
In these lines, he's explaining the feeling of caving into a relapse and getting high again. Prowess means strength or skill. He's mocking himself for thinking he was strong enough to stay sober.
Look how you cower.
In this lines, he's calling himself out. He's like, look how you buckled under pressure and relapsed.
Bound you, that's how they found you. Face down in the tub, I drown you with pals of downers around you.
And in these lines, he's talking about his daughters and how they found him collapsed in the bathroom. This is Slim Shady speaking, twisting everything sacred and vulnerable. Stay Wide Awake is criminally underrated. The beat, the creepy guitar, the vivid imagery is just on another level. I'm honestly torn between the second and third verse. They're both insane. The way he dives into these dark themes with intricate wordplay and relentless flow is unmatched. And just when you think the horrorcore vibe can't go any deeper, same song and dance. The serial killer theme continues on this track, maintaining the horror movie concept vibe of the album. But there's another layer here, addiction. M is rapping about how addiction traps you, binds you, makes you feel helpless, like it's slowly killing you. It may even allow you to feel like you're in control, as it lets you go to rehab, and then as soon as you get out, it starts.
It's a lynch show with 66 inches of extension, yeah, baby.
Same song and dance becomes a metaphor for addiction itself. The same cycle all over again. Recovery, relapse, regret. On the surface, he's rapping about unaliving celebrities like Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears. But listen closer, it's really about how their own addiction could lead them to self-destruction. It's Slim Shady once again hijacking the narrative to make a larger point, and it's haunting. And speaking of cycles of relapse and regret, Deja Vu. The beat on this track is phenomenal. He raps over it effortlessly with an incredible flow. But what makes Deja Vu so special is the storytelling. It's the realest M gets on the album. The way he walks us through relapsing so naturally, so casually, it's terrifyingly relatable.
Sometimes I feel so alone, just don't know. Feels like I've been down this road before. So lonely and cold, like something takes over me soon as I go home and close the door.
I can't hear that line without thinking of the feeling I used to get when I'd close my bedroom door and roll a joint.
I wanna get away from this place, I do, but I can't, and I will. I try, but I know that's a lie, cause I don't, and why I just don't know.
Who can't relate to being trapped in a cycle you know is killing you, but you keep doing it anyway? Then there's this line.
Wouldn't even be taking this shit if Sean didn't die. Oh yeah, there's an excuse, you lose proof, so you use. There's new rules, it's cool if it's helping you to get through.
Holy fuck, that hits hard. Every one of us have used the same logic to justify our self-destructive habits. That's what I mean by amazing storytelling. And then there's the heartbreaking moments.
Mommy, something is wrong with Dad, I think. He's acting weird again, he's really beginning to scare me. Won't shave his beard again, and he pretends he doesn't hear me.
I fucking love that part. The fear in the child's voice and the way the addiction affects everyone around him is just nuts. As I mentioned earlier, M's overdose happened in late December 2007, but the story wasn't made public until January 2008. Rather than admit to the methadone overdose directly, he folds it into this song's raw confessional.
Cause that Christmas, you know the whole pneumonia thing? It was Bologna. Was it the methadone, ya think?
I love this part. The self-deprecating humor laced with absolute tragedy. And then that fucking ending.
So you can lie to Haley. I'm going Betty by Whitney, baby. Good night, Elena. Go in the room and shut the bedroom door. Wake up in an ambulance. They said they found me on the bathroom floor. Damn.
He mentions each of his daughters, one after the other, so they're fresh in your mind. Then boom, it's like a blackout. One moment he's saying goodnight, the next he's waking up in an ambulance. That's how fast it happens. That's how dangerous addiction is, and the idea of his daughters finding him like that, it's gut-wrenching. Man, this album is certainly more thematically coherent than M's other albums. And mind you, thematic cohesion is already one of M's strong suits, so saying Relapse is more thematically coherent really says something. But it's also missing that narrative through line. In terms of musical structure, there's a clear first, second, and third act, giving the album a cohesive arc sonically. However, lyrically and content-wise, the songs only loosely progress, and that progression happens strictly at a thematic level, not a narrative one. There's no compiling storyline, no central plot tying each track together moment to moment. So, is it a concept album? Yes and no. It's not officially a concept album, but it's as close as a non-concept album can get to being one. I think for an album to qualify as a true concept album, there needs to be a narrative connection embedded within the actual content of the music, which Relapse doesn't strictly commit to. And then there's Relapse Refill, which arguably completes what the original album started. The added tracks don't just feel like bonus content, they genuinely elevate the album to another level. I think a big part of why Relapse gets underrated is because a lot of people only listen to the regular version. That's unfortunate because tracks like Hell Break Loose,
What's my name? Shady came and crushed the game. It's really not even fair to them, cause they pale in comparison.
Buffalo Bill,
Coming and unpacking in my lunch up, bunch up, missile launchers and a bunch of contra. Van full of ganja. Now come on, jump.
Elevator and Music Box don't just fit the album, they finish it. Buffalo Bill and Elevator gives us that classic Shady energy.
I can't believe I leave for one brief second and you pussies squeak all over the rap game naked.
More rapidy rap-focused songs loaded with tight flows, wild punchlines, and mischievous, outrageous tone people expect from M. And then there's Music Box, and that's where the horrorcore element of the album gets fully rounded out. If 3 AM was the intro to Slim Shady's Murderous Mind, and Stay Wide Awake was the deep descent into it, Music Box is the unflinching final form. The production on this track is minimalistic. It consists of a deep bass thump and a looping toy chest style melody that plays like a tune of a real music box. It's haunting and hypnotic, and it gives M's delivery the perfect eerie backdrop. Lyrically, it's an homage to Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, especially in the way Shady is tormented by his thoughts, hearing his impulses like soundtrack in his head.
I almost look comatose. Who wants to be sober gross? I foam like a Doberman, mouth open, I overdose.
The storytelling is razor sharp, the imagery is surreal.
Put coke up my nostrils and both my holes, and I plug my nose. My pupils quadruple in size, eyes are so bugged I know.
The flows are near flawless, and the track is a perfect example of M's ability to tell a vivid story, keep everything rhyming, sound sonically pleasing, and still artistically reinforce the album's themes. It's one of those songs that really proves what a masterpiece Relapse is. So in conclusion, I think this album is significantly better than anything he's released since, and Deja Vu might be one of the best songs he's ever made. Sure, there's a little bit of filler, and if just a couple of songs were cut, the album could have been a legitimate concept album about his drug addiction, with that addiction being symbolized by the serial killer character he plays throughout the project. And while I understand why people dislike the accents, I personally think they work really well with the theme he's going for. They enhance the twisted persona of Slim Shady, and more importantly, they sound good when paired with these rhyme-heavy flows. One of the main reasons Relapse still sounds great today is the production. That's some timeless Dr. Dre work. Clean, cinematic, and absolutely haunting. And again, Refill truly elevates this album. It doesn't just add more tracks, it completes the story and fleshes out the sound even further. This is a top 3 Eminem album for me. Now, I don't think he could have kept making serial killer albums with exaggerated accents much longer. It would have burned out quick. But for what this was, it's damn good. As for the subject matter, that's just the theme of the project. It's his serial killer album. It's meant to be twisted, gory, uncomfortable. And if he kept making this kind of music over and over again, sure, complain. But as one-time detour in his discography, I think it's brilliant. Tracks like 3 AM, My Mom, Insane, Bagpipes from Baghdad, Hello, Beautiful, Underground, My Darling, and the one I think his greatest track ever, Stay Wide Awake. That rhyme scheme is fucking insane. And honestly, I'll take a sick rhyme scheme over lyricism any day. Also, I've always felt this album could have worked even better split into 2 full concept albums. One that's serious and vulnerable, dealing with his addiction and depression in the wake of Proof's death, and another that's pure horrorcore, where he relapses back into the chaotic, drug-fueled Slim Shady mindset. That kind of split would have made the contrast even more impactful, but either way, Relapse remains one of the most underrated, technically insane, and deeply thematic projects in M's entire career. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, drop your favorite bar from the album in the comment section, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. Thanks for watching and stay wide awake.